Mark test 1 2 1 2. This is the Order Room podcast, live and direct from BKK Thailand. We are your host. I'm Authority. My co-host.
Name is Anthony.
So I don't know. We're testing our our other mic today.
Yep.
So we don't know what the result is gonna be like, but we just hope everything turns out to be
As
dope
good
as
as the
usual.
other mic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's see. So where are we starting from, man? So before I start, like this is our episode 13. This is
Yeah.
13th
13th
episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
So
real.
we're going, man. We're moving from episode 1 to started from the bottoms now.
And we're here.
Here we are.
Still climbing.
Here we are. We're still climbing, man.
For sure.
On our 100th episode, we're gonna do something mega, something like big, man.
Mega all-star.
So where we starting from? Where we started from? Be long, man.
Oh, yeah. Last episode was really a long one. So
Yeah, it was like 2 hours plus. So we're trying to keep this short.
Yeah, you guys really need to listen to that because it was dope. Like, it was really very organic.
It was so
and a lot of
organic. Yeah, it was so
stuff. We just
organic
keep going.
that we didn't even know when we started. Like, 1 hour. It was already 1 hour. We stopped. I was
Yeah,
like,
we
yo,
were
it's
almost
just like
closing the show. Then stuff just came up. We're like, okay, let's just keep going. We just keep hitting it up. So yeah, let's talk about like what everyone's been talking about because right now at this point, I think it's really kind of cliched because everyone's talking about Black Panther, right? So maybe it's just time we talk about it in relation to how Africans view it and how especially Nigerians also see the movie and whatnot. Because like just during the week, it came out that the movie has grossed about $1 billion.
$1
which is,
billion.
like,
That
a
is
lot, like-
huge.
and
That is like
and the thing is that it kind of defiles that misconception that black movies don't really sell.
sales. Yeah.
Like movies with like black actor as the lead actor doesn't really sell. So it's actually a good development that this is like an outlier, right? Like it sets a new trend that
well, trust me, man. The whole the whole black nation came out to support this movie.
Yeah,
It's like,
for sure.
yo, we really have to show the white dude that we really can, like, we have the money, we have the time, we have the talent. And if you portray Africa as the country, the continent, that means like, they're like, I think the marketing strategies, right? They really strike the nerve, like they
Yeah.
know exactly where to use, and they know like aside from the Black Americans, the African Americans, they have been dying to see themselves being represented,
yep.
like on TV. Aside from that, even the Africans, like we Africans, we really came out huge to support the movie.
Yeah, like African stand up, like even people who've not been to the movies before, right? They just like had to just go out and watch it. It's really good because one, the guys from Upper Iweka Road have not really started, and Alaba, they've not really started messing it up, like producing like bootleg copies and knockoffs and putting it out there. So so I think Hollywood is kind of
Call it again, man.
the guys from Alaba and Upper Iweka Road. And the thing is that it kind of also like brings up a moral issue in the sense that, okay, now that we have guys not really pirating American movie because of maybe the glamour and the noise that is make that people really want to go to the cinema to see it, then we'll expect these guys to also respect our local Nollywood producers, right? That when their movies come out too, they let people enjoy it and they don't really violate the copyrights of these guys, because that's one of the reasons why Nollywood has not really been able to develop that much. And the fact that Nollywood has developed within Africa is just because of it being funny and being relatable, right? Because when Patience or Zokwa comes on the TV, like on Nollywood, African Nolly or whatever channel you're watching it from all across Africa, people can immediately just feel like, oh, she's going to be that wicked mother-in-law.
Yeah.
This is something that's very relatable all across Africa. Like, I've had Zimbabwean, Kenyan, Tanzanian friends tell me, like, yo, once I see Patience Zokwa, I already know what she's about to do. And when they see Pete Edochie, they know, like, he's about to drop knowledge. Like, he's about to, like, unleash a whole level of wisdom and African proverbs. So that's kind of relatable on that end. So we feel like these people should also respect our local producers and not pirate their movies. So just to go back to Blank Panther, right, that we're talking about, it's actually grossed a lot, and I've seen on other major TV news stations that like people are actually paying for kids like in hundreds
Yeah,
to go
to
see
go
the
see the
movie in the
movie. Yeah,
cinemas, right?
I've heard a lot of testimony, a lot of people giving like after they took their family to see the movie and things like the kids they can
Yeah,
actually relate to the characters, right?
yeah,
And they came back home, they're trying to like act like they like represent each
yeah, yeah,
characters, which is really good though. It's really good. Like me, like I don't when I was growing up, I don't yo, we play real time play. We don't have any character we trying
yeah,
to mold ourselves.
yeah, sure.
So it's like I don't even read like I started reading. I haven't even read any Marvel novel like any
I nobody got time
superhero
for that.
whatever. I don't have any time for that, but it's kind of good, and not only because we black we can relate to this actually opened a new conversation
Yeah,
of the representation of blacks
yeah,
abroad.
black in the media, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
so now people started seeing us like totally different.
yeah. I feel like when you look at it, right? Personally, for me, I don't really think it changes any of my perspective or worldview about how I see myself or how I see Africans and
Africa,
how I
yeah.
see the continent of Africa, right? Because it's just a whole thing built on fiction that we're going to talk about that later. But I just feel for the young generations that have seen it now, like the little kids, like the 5-year-old, the 6-year-olds, the 10-year-olds that have seen it, it gives them. I believe that it gives them this perception that they can actually be a great person. They can be a hero, and they believe in the African continent, and they also believe in themselves as Africans,
Yeah.
right? It builds a whole new level of hope for these kids because now they have something they
And
can look
self
towards to.
appreciation too. Now
Yeah,
they started seeing themselves as not inferior to anybody. They
yeah,
can actually be
exactly.
great.
Yeah,
So it doesn't really matter which color you come from, like which color of your skin or wherever, which continent you come from, you can be
yeah,
great. So it's not like there has been this narrative that Africans are poor, Africans are this,
yeah,
Africans are actually rich. If you want to think about like the
yeah,
natural resources,
yeah.
I think we're the
It
richest.
just yeah,
So
it's just this whole decades or almost half a century of pillage of the natural resources by a very corrupt set of people, and there's so much like cronyism, like a group of friends like really running a whole country down, like. And you have this thing that Mo Ibrahim also talked about recently, that where there were a couple of presidents like Kenneth Kaunda and former President Obasanjo, where he talked about one of the major problems of Africa is that you have 80 years old, 85 years old, 90 years old trying to be president. And when you compare that with other advanced countries
oh
and better doing
man.
countries, like if you look at Canada, right? If you
Oh.
look at France also, and you look at this country, they are doing great. The average age of their leader is usually 40, 35.
So,
35, 38, 40.
not to cut it off, just to talk more about the age difference
Yeah.
in leadership. Like Omo Yele or Yele or Woshere, the owner
Yeah,
of Sahara
Moyele
is
Shawara.
yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah, yeah.
is trying to contest for
Yeah, for the
presidency in 2000,
presidency. Yeah.
yeah, in 2019. I think I can actually like now I can root for people. Like I can
Yeah.
actually talk for friends to like yo, if you want to vote, I don't know,
Yeah,
man.
because like now you have like really young guys who
Young
get into the
guy,
race, like
yeah.
Adamu Garba. Then you have Fela Duro Toye. Then Donald Duke. I got an email from Donald Duke organization in my Gmail. I don't even know how they got my email
Are you
because
serious? Like
usually, yeah,
from the bank?
I felt
If you
like my
use it, yeah,
bank sold
yeah,
out my
yeah,
email
yeah, for
because
sure.
I've been
From
receiving
the
like
bank.
weird emails, and I
From the
felt
bank.
like my bank that's
Yeah, that
always
is
been my
late. It's
suspicion
called
that
late.
my bank
Yeah,
sold my
they
email
sell,
out.
they sell, they sell.
Yeah, and I feel like that's actually unethical, but I don't really have a basis for that. Like since now you have a similar opinion, then I
Yeah,
feel like it's really
it's for the
legit because
it's bank for sure.
my personal email that is linked to my bank account is not linked to any other thing in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So for that, there's a club that also sends me a message, an email. The club is in Victoria Island. And also then Donald Duke organization sent me an email. I just
Yeah,
reported both emails as spam because like
yeah.
I was wondering like how the hell did they get my email?
It's from the bank.
So now
Bank
we
has
have
sell it.
like 4 very young candidates, right? Duro Toye, Garba, then Donald Duke, and then Omoyele Shawara. It's a really good development because now we feel like okay, there's a need to channel our youthful energy into developing our countries than putting our country in the hands of these really old men that probably pass away in 10, 15 years, and they will not be there to actually suffer the pain of our people. And also, they've acquired so much wealth that their great-grandchildren can never finish it. Look at Diezani, for example. Look at how much he's acquired. Look at people like maybe Abacha. We're still trying to recuperate all the money, or repatriate all the money that he's stolen, like for the past almost 15, 20 years. And we still haven't been able to get it together. So these old guys have stolen so much from the continent. It's not even just Nigeria alone. Like, look at Zimbabwe, for example.
Everywhere, like
look
the
at,
entire continent.
Look at Togo.
The entire continent.
Yeah,
so and you see people serving for years. Like, come on, man, it's not your fucking.
I don't understand. Like, don't they actually get bored? That you're just confined to a certain place that you don't really have the freedom to express
do
yourself.
Anything. Yeah, you can't even go out like a normal
go
human.
Out as a normal human being. Like,
normal life anymore.
Aids, guards everywhere around you. Then you have sirens blasting and whatnot. So don't you actually get tired of living that boring life?
I think it's out of fear. Any president who chooses to stay that long, that they're scared. Maybe when they're out of that place, they might have done something really terrible. That if the next president found out, it might be like probably they might go to jail.
Usually, if I really don't, there's usually no precedent of having other presidents going to jail when they lose elections, because even if you go around advanced democracies, the same
what about to find out the corruption in their government?
Most governments are corrupt. Like, I've not really seen any U.S. president who've been prosecuted just right after.
But they stay to
even
the
France,
terms,
that Holland
like the
and
terms,
issues,
like
right?
they have like
usually
terms,
what
like
they just do is that once
years.
they want to go out, then they just have a bargain. They just have a deal.
Okay.
Because if you look, that was the same thing with the guy from Gambia. He had a deal. He cut a deal when he lost the election, right? Then the same thing was applicable to Ivory Coast. From Ivory Coast, when what was it? Is he Gnesingbe Eyedema? Okay, that was Togo. Then the Ivory Coast president at that time, whereby I think he's facing charges now at the International Criminal Court with the wife or something, but he wanted to cut a deal. So oftentimes incumbent presidents don't actually prosecute the outgoing president. And moreover, also, the outgoing presidents usually have like full protection also. In most all countries, even including Nigeria, they always have full protection. So they're usually very secure. Just that people are power drunk. And power, it just drives people crazy, and they don't want to lose power. That's one of the problems with Africa. And also, I feel like our institutions are not really solid. That's why we have presidents just wanting to spend like their whole lifetime being presidents of countries. To me, I feel like it gets really boring. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm saying this. I can't. If someone like asked me now to be a king in Ondo State, I was like, yo, just keep that shit to yourself.
Yeah.
just look for someone else.
No,
come on, man. I want to travel. I want to meet people. Dude, I want to be free. I just want to be free. Go wherever I want, whenever I want, however I want to get there. I don't want to be tied with some. Come on, man. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's, like you said, it's more of like a power drunk.
Yeah, so, and then, like, okay, recently the update is that Omolile Sowore has a GoFundMe.
Yeah, GoFundMe for $2 million? $2 million.
Yeah, $2 million, right? And he's been able to raise just $2,000.
2,100.
Yeah, and then the GoFundMe account got suspended.
Are you serious?
Yeah, it got suspended because it has been reported as a fraud. So he posted the update. Then just recently, before we came on the show, he also posted another update that the GoFundMe page was reported by people who are close to Bukola Saraki. They're the ones who reported it as fraud. So I think he's probably working in conjunction with GoFundMe to have.
He just got his personal Facebook just got verified by Facebook 2 days ago.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
that's legit because he's been around for a while. He's been doing investigative journalism, and also not even that. Like, he's always had this knack for wanting to be a leader because he was the student union government leader of Unilag back in the days. Yeah. So he's always had activism in his spirit and his person.
I saw one of his photo with Abiola.
Yeah. So and during his time, like, he made noise too because he was really very active, and I think they had some issues with with the vice chancellor of the university, which is normal because if you're a really good activist, you're always going to have problems with the authorities.
That is for sure.
And the usual route that they take is they suspend you, like they kick you out of the university. So I think he had that then before he left the country. I think probably under Ibrahim Babangida regime back then in 1989. That was when that happened. So we'll see what the youths are able to do, because then at the same time it also opens up the possibility that now if these youthful candidates split up the votes, then somehow the old guys are still going to win.
Yeah.
Because I think people from the South don't have problem with switching up this government. But we're just afraid that people in the North, they really just don't see things the same way we see things.
Yeah.
There is this, how do I actually say this? There's this cult followership in the North where they just don't really care. They don't care about the bigger picture. Whatever it is they're being fed by maybe BBC Hausa service or whatever radio that is going on, that's what they care about. And I kind of understand, because it's a whole different culture and rule and set of rules out there. Like you have a pervasive culture of Sharia, Sharia law out there. Then you have a very entirely different set of Islamic laws out there. Like even the way the religion is preached out there is very different.
It's different. It's different.
Because I heard something recently that like, okay, the Yorubas or the Muslims from the South have their own very different form of Islam, which is, may I say, maybe very, very liberal compared to the North, which is very radical, right? Yeah. Now, someone said that if a Yoruba Islamic cleric goes to the North, they are not allowed to lead prayers.
What?
Yep.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and I had a lot of people actually corroborated that as being true. Because that...
Are you serious?
Yeah. That people from the North, the Muslims in the North, or those mosques or those organizations from the North, they see priests from or clerics from the South as being very less in their precepts of Islam and their preaching of Islam, so that they cannot lead Islamic prayers.
Wow.
So there's that dichotomy within the body of Islam in Nigeria itself. I was shocked too when I heard that, and when people started to corroborate that, that's actually true. And I was like, what? And if the Muslims from the North come to the South, nobody cares. They are allowed to lead prayers. So it's just that I'll say that bit of self-righteousness that, okay, we are better than these people when it comes to Islam, and our interpretations and our belief system is actually much deeper than people from the South. And if you look at it, then if your interpretation of Islam is much better than that from the South, then why is it that there are no bombers from the South or terrorists from the Southern Muslims?
Yes.
So it's usually those from the North that have radical Islam. So just to piggyback, that the whole picture is that the way people from the North see governance, they don't really see it in the sense of capability. They just see it in the sense of, it's our turn to rule.
To rule, yeah.
So somebody from our side should rule.
That is just the mentality. That is, they believe, like, it doesn't really matter if they, like now, I think all the people from the North, they have this orientation. They believe on this idea that Nigeria is theirs because they have the highest population, so they can control everything in Nigeria, which is very wrong. Like, it's totally wrong. Just because we've talked about this before. And the reason you have the population is because you started creating states that's not even up to state, and instead letting people from Chad, Niger, and let people just cross over the border.
The using of underage voters, and also then the registry of aliens. So that's the two major issues there that inflates the number of electoral voters from that part of the country. So now, even if we are to say, okay, you get a candidate that's united within the South, that people from the South backs up, then you get somebody from, okay, that is North Central, because the North Central is a little bit different from the core North, which is the Northeast or the Northwest, right? North Central is usually very different, which is like the Plateau, the Benue, the Niger, then the Kogi, They are very, very different from the other core north, right? So they're usually going to vote in a different set of line that is not consistent with northeast or northwest. So that's also an issue. So, but if we're able to get southwest, southeast, south, and then north central to support a candidate, will it actually even be enough against the vote from this other part of the northeast? Because only Kano is like it's like 40% of the total vote, if not even 25% of the whole total vote. So that's also one of the problems. So this also goes back to the initial topic that we're talking about, like Black Panther, right? That the continent has actually, the resources of the continent has actually been pillaged by these leaders, right? Who don't really care. And the most annoying part of this is that they take all this money to the West. So it's not even in Africa, it's taken to the West.
It's out of Africa. It's out of Africa.
All the resources is taken to the West.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay, recently they were talking about former deputy speaker former deputy Senate President Ike Ekweremadu. It was discovered that he has 13 houses outside of Nigeria.
13 houses.
13 different houses. Now the question is that how can a person live in 13 different houses? I don't even think people who are doing legitimate jobs, like maybe let's say Bill Gates, let's say LeBron James, let's say Jay-Z, or let's say, okay,
LeBron James has only 3 houses.
Let's say, okay, like let's actually look at it from different angles. Then let's also talk about J.K. Rowling's, right? So let's talk about people from different sectors of life. They don't have 13 houses.
13 houses.
And if you look at, you are just a deputy Senate president.
Not even 30 companies, like 13 houses.
13 houses.
Yo, man.
Like what? I understand that houses are assets, right? That they definitely appreciate over time. But then, like, what are you doing with 13 different houses?
Where do you get the money from?
Exactly, right?
Where do you get the money from?
So that just goes back to what I'm saying, that these people, they've actually robbed the country.
No, they've killed the country, man.
The same thing is applicable to the continent, because if you go to South Africa, Julius Malema is talking about the same thing about his country, right? With his EFF people. And it's been documented how these guys really corrupt Jacob Zuma, the ousted president. And the kind of stuff. That's applicable in so many other countries too. So now these new kids are having a different worldview of Africa, right? That, okay, maybe we have
one day,
that we can actually manage. That is, if we actually have something left for them to manage, right? But personally, for me, I see the movie, so I feel like we're just being sold a false promise or a false reality.
Yeah, it's kind
that's
of
very
false
different
reality,
from our reality.
But if you really like the central, right, the central of that movie, like what I understand is the focus, the central is about the resources and what we can do with the resources.
Yeah.
Right? So we don't really need we don't need a superhero. We just need one superhuman to change the entire story. The story is like African as a continent is blessed with resources.
Yep.
And that should be our main focus. Like we have the resources to be the greatest continent in the world.
Yep.
But our leaders, they are just I don't know what to say.
Even while we say like, okay, Africa is the future, right? And now we already have people who are moving into the future, which is maybe Chinese. And the Chinese who are actually moving into the future, they're already starting to, I feel it's a whole new level of recolonization.
Yes.
Trust me. It's more like this time around, it's economic colonization.
Yes, that is what Chinese is doing.
And they're actually ripping us off. Okay, now, let's not even talk about the different countries they've been in. Nigeria, in Zimbabwe, in other places where they actually, or in Tanzania where they have these whole things. But the thing is, okay, reports came out like just 2 months ago, right? That first, they built the new African Union headquarters.
Chinese, right?
Yeah, the Chinese built it. And it was like, why would you let the Chinese build the headquarters of the African Union? And guess what? They built it, they designed it, and they put in bugs. They're like, everything that's going out there, they're putting back doors, they're putting
That is
bombs.
100% sure.
Everything
That is
that's
100%
going on
sure.
within the African Union,
They already got the
they
information.
got everything. So everything, before the African Union takes any step,
Chinese
the
government
Chinese
already knows.
know. So a report just came out 2 months ago that, okay, the Chinese are actually eavesdropping on the headquarters of the African Union. What does that say about the Union or the continent?
What the fuck?
Yeah. What does that say about the Union or the continent itself? That, okay, a combination of 53 to 55 countries cannot actually build their own headquarters, one. And two, when you build your headquarters, you cannot actually ensure the safety, the confidentiality of the information being spread out. It only took one engineer who was curious that, okay, there's a lot of data being transferred at maybe 3 a.m. at night. When, okay, nobody's actually doing anything in the building. Nobody's doing anything on the server. So why is the server so loaded that there's a lot of processing power going on? So then he started to investigate, and then he discovered that data is being transferred daily from the central computer to Beijing. And this was the place.
This is no brainer. This is the fucking no brainer, man.
I actually didn't bring this up like in other previous episodes, right?
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Dude, and
that just says so much about how the continent is.
You see how the continent is, like our leaders, you see how stupid they are. Is because like they take a loan from Chinese government, assign a contract to the Chinese government, and the Chinese government employ the workers.
Yep.
So they're giving you money, they're taking the money back, and still have to fucking pay them back.
One problem with Africa is that why do we expect handouts? Why do we expect handouts from foreign organizations and foreign governments? It starts at that level of the government. It also goes down to the level of the people. Where we were talking about girls the other time. The girls want handouts. They want to be paid money salary for just being girlfriends. So we have this pervasive culture of wanting handouts from people. That we just want money.
I think it's
I don't know.
It's more of money and validation. Like
we just want help from other people.
I see, like Chinese government actually build their economy based on the shit they send to Africa.
Yep.
Low quality items.
Yeah.
And they make so much money from that shit.
Yeah. Like they have one of the biggest foreign reserve. Like they have not even one. They have the biggest foreign reserve. And look at how much the United States is actually owing the Chinese government. And their foreign reserve is from the trade, like their trade export, right? And a lot of stuff that goes to Africa, especially in Nigeria, is from China. That's why anybody who starts to do business with Chinese companies or import from China, they immediately just get rich because there's a lot going on when it comes to trading with China. So that's just to piggyback to what I'm saying. Like that's just the whole culture, right? Of how the whole continent is just in so much disarray that we don't actually even know what we are doing. Okay, now how can we actually have a united stance where information of what you want to do is already
out? It's already out. People have been manipulating you.
So for years that place has been built. So, and we're just knowing about that just now, just this year, that this is what has been going on. That the Chinese actually have all the confidential information of things that is going on, all the minutes of all the meetings by the leaders of African continent. And now, I know it's the whole Black Panther theme that is bringing up all these different mental maps of issues that we've been talking about. Now, to talk about something that I'm more concerned about in the movie, right? I don't want to give spoilers. I believe like everybody would have been able to see the movie by now, right?
Like 3 weeks or a month
like
already.
3 weeks or a month already since it's been out. So, and it's already grossed 1 billion.
So
everybody should have been able
out
to
and
see
it. It's cheaper now. Just go out and see it. All right.
So, one point that I want to make is the arts. I think it's already an established fact now that precious artworks were stolen from Africa. And were taken to European countries like the United Kingdom, where they showed the Benin art that was stolen from the Benin Kingdom.
Yeah, that's fact.
Yeah, so that's a fact. And I feel like now it's becoming an obvious one that people can actually negate. or argue against. So definitely, it's maybe time to return the artworks back to the kingdom or to wherever it is the British have stolen it from other countries, other European countries. I know, okay, it makes sense that if we return it back to Africa, it's not appreciated.
Yeah.
But you got to give it back to the people that owns it.
Yeah.
That's one. Then second point is this. There's this level of distrust between the African and the African American.
Yeah.
In reality. And that was portrayed, that was subtly portrayed in the movie, right? Where was the spot? That was when Killmonger came back.
Yeah, Killmonger came back. He came with the African American mentality.
Yeah, mentality. To challenge T'Challa to the throne. Yeah. That, okay, he deserves it. But in between all that, you see like there's that distrust that Killmonger has, that he doesn't fit in, that he was getting treated differently.
Yeah.
So he needed to exert so much pressure in his leadership style because he felt alienated from the people. And I feel like in reality, right, there's a disconnect between African Americans and Africans.
Yeah, that is fact. That is 100% fact.
The only two common things we might say we have is that
the color?
African Americans are black. African Americans are from the African continent. They are originally from the African continent.
Not to cut it off, I once talked to a girl.
Yeah.
And she said she's black.
Yeah.
She's not African American. She's not African. She don't even believe she came from Africa. Why? Is because she has an aunt who is like Irish. I was like, that doesn't make you any less an African. That doesn't even make you Irish, you know?
Yeah. Okay, what about the Irish girl I was talking about on the show last week that discovered that she has about 70 to 75% African in her DNA, and she's Irish. So now she's starting to like understand a new reality about herself. She's starting to unlock this new identity that, oh, okay, maybe I didn't really belong here. Yeah. Now I need to try to fit in to being an African. So that may also be her case, you know, because she feels like, oh, she has an Irish lineage.
She is blacker than I do, man. This girl, she's black. I mean,
it's just a way. I just feel it's a way for people to escape from that mental, will I say, mental deprivation that they put themselves in. That, okay, there is so much burden that comes with being black, right? All over the world, maybe racism, then lesser opportunities and whatnot. So people just want to feel like, okay, how can I get myself out of this whole thing? Okay, I'm Irish. And when you have conversations with them, they will always claim to be that instead of claiming to be the original root. Because who's going to believe that you're not black when you're as blacker as it gets? Like, the blacker the berry, right? You're as black as it gets. So now, that moment where it was being portrayed, the disconnection between the African and the African American, that moment where it was being portrayed in the movie, right? I could immediately relate to it that we may all be Africans, but at the same time, we are not all Africans.
Yeah.
You have a lot of African Americans who are not Pan-African in any way, manner, size, or form. Like, there's so much hate going on. Like, that we previously, right, where, what's this guy's name? The South Korean American guy. Simon, where he talked about how African Americans treat Africans.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm more superior, or I'm better than this fellow.
It happens everywhere, though.
It happens like
here.
I've experienced
you talked about that in Pattaya, an African American guy.
Right. Yeah. And this guy has so many TV commercials in Nigeria, right? That is running in Nigeria. But when you talk to him about Africans, he'll say like, "Oh, I don't like like I'm different from Africans. Like Africans, like I'm not the same with African. I'm African American, whatnot. You don't even have a college degree, man. Like how many Africans? So like if we have to rate many Africans that I know and compare to that guy, I feel like this when you're talking about superiority, like the different.
In what sense? You have to like define the sense.
The different things that will be used to measure being superior. A lot of Africans that I know and myself were higher than you. Like, dude, you wanted to go back to the US. You couldn't even afford the ticket back to the US.
You have to.
Like, you had to start like crowdfunding to go back to the US. And you're telling people that, oh, I'm not the same as Africans. I'm superior than Africans or whatnot. You don't even have a fucking college degree, man.
And there's some people like,
and you're already in your 40s.
Going after PhD and when they still 30s, like even early 30s. What?
So I just feel like, okay, what is there to start to segregate from? Like, when we actually go through the same struggle. Like, I've seen African Americans who come to Thailand who can't even get a job.
Yeah.
Because they're simply black. So when you come down to like Thailand,
a lot of them.
We have the same issue.
Same thing.
And if you even go back to like the US, the Africans have it better with the police relation compared to African American. Because with African Americans, there's that sense of entitlement.
I think they have a better job too. They have a better opportunity.
Yeah, because they're more driven in the sense that there are people back home who need things
a better life.
Yeah. Okay, it just goes, and also you're having a better life than you have back home. Okay, it just goes back to what Michael Blackson was saying in his breakfast interview, right? It's like, okay, which was question based on like, okay, how do you feel about whether being passed over or not being passed over? It's like, man, my life being here and compared to where I came from, I didn't expect to be here. Like, with all he has, if he was back home in Africa, he's not going to have it. He's probably live on probably $10 a year, a day, or maybe $20 a day. But he can afford to do whatever he wants now because he's an immigrant and he knows where he's coming from. So he acts accordingly. Now, just to go back to like, I think Africans have better police relations than with African Americans because one, with African Americans, they feel like I belong here.
We don't feel we don't feel entitled. Yeah, we don't feel entitled. We just have to obey the rules, obey the laws, and just follow the instructions. Just do your things and be good.
You know, and the thing is this: the African Americans who really have substance, like who are really credible, who have it going for them well in life, they do not dissociate themselves from Africa.
From Africa, yeah.
It is low lives.
Yeah.
They are basically have no life.
I think it's out of ignorance.
Yeah, it's part of ignorance because for me, a lot of the Africans, even in Thailand, that I've seen, who tries to dissociate themselves or hate on other Africans, are people without a college degree.
Yeah.
They are people who are living on government welfare. So then, it just, to me, I don't even really get mad because once you start to dissociate yourself, it's even good for me.
Dude, I'm living. Like, I don't even want to talk to you. I don't even talk to much people. I don't care
because I feel like it's like all born out of ignorance because at the end of the day, we go through the same similar issues.
Let me tell you, that night, the last night we went out, so I met a girl in an elevator. I was like, oh, they said this girl, she's a Nigerian girl. And I was like kind of asking her, do you speak broken English? And she started fronting. She was like, yo, come on, girl. First of all, I cannot fuck you. You know that for real though. So I'm just asking. I just want to talk to you. Like, I'm tired of speaking English to a black girl, and I know you're Nigerian. Talk to her. Yeah, you speak broken or you don't speak broken. Just like fancy you. I don't know who the fuck you, but any guy with the fuck you, guy, try.
No, it could be like different reasons, right? Because
what reason is that?
I don't know. Maybe one, she doesn't know you. She doesn't want to speak because I'm just playing the devil's advocate, right? One, she doesn't know you. She doesn't want to speak with you.
I was with someone who knows me and who knows her.
She might probably feel like you're trying to hit on her, so she don't want to do that.
Please, come on.
Yeah, I'm just being the devil's advocate. Like at this time, like she's not here to defend herself, right? So why not? And also, maybe she can't speak pidgin anymore.
Hey.
Yeah.
Seriously.
What if she can't? Like at least our homie Nura can't speak pidgin, right? And he's Nigerian. He spent over almost 3 decades in Nigeria. And he can't speak pidgin.
Nura the form.
Which one be Nura the form? Shout out to Nura Gambo. Like he's Nigerian. He spent like 3 decades in Nigeria growing up. And he can't speak pidgin. And he grew up in Abuja and Kaduna.
But this person where they talk, so this girl I'm talking about, she just moved to Thailand probably 3-4 years ago because she's still studying in Stanford.
Yeah, 3-4 years ago, yeah. Yeah, 3 years ago, yeah. Yeah, it doesn't matter because at the end of the day, like, I don't know, right? But it might just be like
I don't.
at
Yeah.
that moment, she couldn't just switch.
She
Because one
probably
thing
think
is,
I was trying to hit on her.
yeah, so
maybe.
that could
Yeah, I will go
actually
with
be a
that.
reason where
I will
she
go
just
with
feel
that.
like, oh,
I'll go
I
with
don't
that.
want to have this conversation or whatnot.
I was already hitting on her friend.
Okay, yeah,
Maybe she feel jealous. She
yeah,
might feel
maybe she
jealous.
just feel like, no, maybe she just feel like, oh, he hit on my friend, so he's trying to hit on me too. So like,
Ah, come on.
I don't want that. Yeah, guys do that. Like, you know, people who do that. Like, they
Yeah.
hit on like a group of friends.
Yeah, I was with with the person
So
who
yeah,
does
like the
that.
chief who does it. So she might just feel that. So it's also legit too. So you see why I'm playing the devil's advocate. Like,
Yeah,
if you actually ask her, like, she might just be like, oh, I didn't catch that. Like, I didn't hear you say it. Or
No,
she might have her own different
it was
reason.
in
Or
an
like, oh, I didn't
elevator,
know you.
In the elevator, she was like
So-
looking at me, and I was looking at her. Do you speak broken English, pidgin English? You're like, okay. No, and she was wearing red beret, and only that is a turn off.
Oh, it doesn't matter. It's fashion, right? And
Well, she did boss cut. I've been a man or what?
it's not even about that. You know, like wearing a beret, right? Wearing a beret is actually more about what I say, like the kind of cult that you belong to. Let me
okay.
give you a really very funny story that
Okay.
I've been thinking about recently. When I was a student at Osun State Polytechnic, right?
Okay.
So in my ND2, I moved hostel to a much closer hostel that was closer to the campus because we lived off campus. So I was in ND2. Then there was this guy who was in HND2. His parents are from Edo State, but he grew up in Ekiti State.
Oh.
So he belonged to the Eye confraternity. So when we lived in the same hostel, because he also moved hostel, so we now lived in the same hostel. Meanwhile, prior to that, we lived in the same area, right? So during my ND1, we basically didn't talk because we didn't live in the same hostel. We had nothing in common. We didn't speak. We didn't belong to the same faculty, so no connection. So it was ND2 when we lived in the same hostel that we had a connection. So at that point, he now told me, like, you know, I feel like you belong to the Bocania, which is Alora.
Oh, okay. That is the yellow.
Yeah, which is yellow, right?
Okay.
Like, he feels like I belong to that cult group. And I was like, what? Why would you feel like? It's like, yeah, like your swag, your everything. I just feel like you belong to that group because
Now they call it-
usually...
Those group, they like. I think they always dress like
Yeah.
fine boys and
Yeah,
shit.
they like the fine
Yeah.
boys. They're not rugged. They're the one who's actually like after beautiful girls, or girls are after them and whatnot.
yeah.
So they're usually very young, trendy, but they are not really rugged or strong when it comes
Yeah.
to like
Fight or
hooliganism.
making trouble,
So he felt I belonged to that, and he said like in his mind, he already decided that the next time Eye Confraternity and Buccaneer have a fight,
Oh,
he's
he's
going to
coming for
lead guys
you.
to come kill me,
what
and they will count me as one.
for him?
So, like, yeah, for one, as for a confraternity, because usually when they have a fight, right, it's usually scores like 1-1.
Wow,
That's one person. That number stands for a person.
Oh,
So I would have been just another number when I get killed, because he felt
without
like
even belonging to
without
anything.
even belonging to anything. And then he said, like, now that I know you better, I kind of feel bad that I would have just killed an innocent guy who was just studying on campus just like anybody else, because I felt you belong to this cult group. I was
Things
like,
that, man.
why do you have this line of thinking? Because I couldn't just wrap my head
Dude.
around it. Then I was really scared.
I'm leaving school. I'm like, dude,
I was so
leaving.
scared.
Like,
I stopped.
Fuck it, like,
Yeah,
fuck
I was
education.
friend with him.
I'm gone.
Like, I was friend with him, and I understand how it happened. Like, where they start killing each other, right? This cult group counts 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When you hear these numbers, it's the number of guys that have been killed
number
by
of people.
the two opposing group, right? So since he told me that, since I heard about that, I stopped living.
No,
I basically stopped living in my hostel
I
temporarily.
will stop wearing every color.
Yeah, and
Probably
basically
go back to white.
I was really
Wear
conscious. I
fucking
was usually
everything
conscious
white.
of what I wear to campus. Like, I made sure I don't wear green. I made sure I don't wear red. I made sure I don't wear yellow.
You don't wear black as well.
So, and black also. So I'm always very
Why?
conscious of what I wear to campus, so I won't be seen as affiliated to a certain cult group.
Cult group.
And also I was mindful of the kind of guys that I
You
roll
roll
with.
with, yeah.
So after that happened, I basically just moved to town and started to like squat with my friends. Then I come
like-
back home sometimes, pick up new clothes, then
just
go for a
live,
couple
man.
more days. And that was how I just got through like school. And guess what? Like a couple of years later, he is now a political thug for Ayo Fayose in Ekiti
In
State.
Ekiti State.
Yeah, he's in Ikole Ekiti. So he's one of those guys who snatch ballot boxes and whatnot for Ayo Fayose. So that's a really funny story as
is
relates
bad.
to using beret and flying of colors on campus and these whole cultist issues. So that's just my own case because I just felt like, man, I would have been dead by now. And who would have actually been there to tell my story?
And the point is, people started making up shit like, oh,
Yeah.
he belongs to court.
Yeah, he
got
belonged,
killed
yeah,
on the
this-
on
but-
the line of operation.
Yeah.
It's like crazy
It
story.
will,
we be
it
out.
will only be able to take that. It will only be able to take the other cult group that is assumed that I belong to, which is the Buccaneer, to actually come out and denounce that
Yeah.
you guys didn't kill any of our guys. So whatever the scores is, then it will have been -1.
That is crazy.
That guy is not our
Crazy.
guy. He didn't get initiated by us. So you guys didn't kill our guy.
That is-
So then that will
is
also affect
pure
his
madness.
credibility
Yeah,
too.
that's pure madness, man. That's
Yeah,
pure
you
madness.
this shit just it's
What?
just crazy. I was just thinking recently, then I remember the whole
Oh,
episode.
shit.
Like it was back in 2009. I just was like, man, you would have been dead by now, like 9 years ago.
Fuck.
So yeah,
It's like mind blowing, man. It's like
Yeah, so-
crazy.
so it's just like okay, now the way she was wearing that red beret, right? If it was back home in Nigeria, right?
Yeah, she
they
would have been
told
challenged.
that
Yeah.
oh, she belongs to Aye
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
whatnot. So and
And-
also, yeah.
And again, they have their normal greeting style. They how
Yeah,
they greet
yeah.
themselves, and they're trying to greet her. She's not. She'll get.
Yeah,
beaten
she'll
to
get beaten.
death.
And first thing is they'll seize that color because they'll be like, you're flying the wrong color, you're impersonating. So that will be seized first, then they'll probably beat her up and probably collect
co-
some money from her or
Come
whatnot.
to think of it, do you think this cultism of a thing, I think there's difference between cultism and fraternity. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
it's totally two different things.
It's two different things. I think it's the early Nigerians who went to study abroad and one of what the history has to say about
Yes,
this.
Wole
is
Soyinka.
It was Wole Soyinka who brought sorority
Yeah.
to University of Ibadan, University of Ife. It's either one of the two universities that he went to. I think probably University of Ife. So that's one of the stories we've heard, but
Yeah.
I don't know how true that is.
That's what I heard too.
But take it or leave it, sororities and fraternities are still really present in the US. And it's more about a community. It's more about communion and a social
Yes,
group.
social group. Yeah.
Usually towards academic excellence, right? And that bond. But just that when it comes to Nigeria, it just get really diluted into something totally negative that is very different from what
Yeah, they believe it's
people
a
thought
challenge
about-
against each other. You
Yeah,
have to fight
so
this. You have to
how the
fight
way-
for superiority.
how they were able to change it into thuggery and hooliganism, I don't know.
Nobody knows.
But it goes way
Nobody
back.
knows.
It goes way back. And every Nigerian parent, like when you're going to the university, right?
Yeah, that is their
or
first
to the tertiary
fear.
institution. That's
That
their
is their
first
first fear.
that's the first thing they keep telling you, and also that's their first fear too. That what am I going to hear? When is that call going to come through that my son has been killed? Or when am I going to hear that my son belongs to this cult group? And there are usually two outcomes from it. Or maybe three or more outcomes. One, if you belong to a cult group on campus, you either get killed, you either get injured, you either get rusticated, or you spend more years.
Yeah. I think that more.
So
year
those
is
are like
certain-
the
is certain, yeah.
Those are usually the multiple realities
Yeah.
because usually the beefs actually starts around the exam period. I experienced that usually during our exam periods, those guys who belong to cult groups in my class never shows up. Because that's when usually the beef really gets to the stage where they start to pull up on each other, right? So at that point,
But why that period?
they know because that is the period where you're vulnerable.
Oh, okay.
Because then you want to study. So you're going to be confined to one place. And they'll be able to get you. You want to go to campus and write your exams. They'll be able to get you. So usually that's the time where guys are vulnerable. And at that time, they just disappear. You never see them. So that's why a lot of the guys now have carryovers where they have to be around the university for many years, other than what they should be.
And
So
they
they
have to
usually
wait for the.
it hardly ends up well for guys that belong to cult groups. It hardly ends up well for them because you either get kicked out, you either get killed, you either get injured, you either kill
So,
someone,
but what is the point if all this happens?
you get
What is the?
forced.
Oh
People
yeah,
are
I know.
usually
Yeah, I
coerced
know.
into
Yeah,
it.
I know. But there are some people who voluntarily join.
Yeah. I feel it comes down from maybe people who have been victims of bullying, people who want validation on campus, and people who want to act tough.
Yeah,
So there's usually
I think they want a first respect. They want like people
it's
to
more of a
respect
social
them.
phenomenon
Yeah.
where and also there are people who are coerced into it. Usually a lot of people are coerced into it, and then you have very few people who voluntarily want to belong to it because they feel like it's cool, it's trendy, right? In the sense that with that you can get whatever girl you want because you either coerce her or she actually sees you as a big guy because of the kind of guys you're with.
Radicality.
Yeah, so there are many reasons why people join these cult groups.
I know. Like I don't even have an issue if they just keep that around the campus.
Yeah,
Right, but now it's like everywhere, even in the street. Because I
Yeah.
remember 2000, let me say 2005, when I went to Port Harcourt. I went to my friend's place, and the Riverside, there was like a lot of fights and a lot of
yep.
guys. They don't even go through high.
Politicians
They even
also-
go through high school,
Yeah.
like fighting, like cultism.
Politicians
and all that.
actually utilize
Yeah,
them
that's going
too
on.
for election violence and thuggery. And also, two of Nigeria's biggest music stars, I'm not naming anybody, they belong
Okay.
to two rival groups.
Really?
Yeah, it's out there. There's one who's been chilling with cult guys in Kenya where they are flying colors. The video is on YouTube, so I'm not making shit up. So that's how pervasive that
At
it's
this
become a
age, at this
culture.
point, as this
and
advanced
at the same
world.
time, you say it that way, but at the same time, even Nigerians in the diaspora,
Yeah, we have people flying colors here too.
flying
I say,
colors
yeah.
in Thailand, in South Africa, in Malaysia, in Italy. It's even worse in Italy because of the Edo boys. Because I think like that's the thing they love the most. I grew up in Edo State. My mom is from Edo State. I speak Asian language, so they love it. They're always fighting in Italy, and the video is all over YouTube. So it's not like I'm making shit up. It's also on Facebook where they're just showing like, oh, they got into a fight. And the same thing is in Malaysia too. The same thing. They actually have, like with the ones in Ghana and South Africa, they actually have like a real big reunion
Oh,
where they're all dressed in their attires that shows their color. And it's all over social media because it's a way of them giving themselves validation that, okay, I'm tough, that you don't fuck with me. I belong to these guys that were big guys or whatnot. So, and also, it's not, okay, we're talking about tertiary institutions. It's actually very common in secondary school and high schools now.
Now.
Go to Ilaje High School in Igbokoda.
Igbokoda,
It is the
I
same, it's
know
even
that-
worse.
that place will
Even
be a
before I
central
left
point.
Edo State,
I know
before I
that
left
place will be a
Edo State,
central
it was
point.
the same thing in Ubiaja, Uromi, Ekpoma, and these other places, Auchi, even the high schools around these places in Edo State. And then in my home state, Ondo State, within my local government, especially Igbokoda, it's on a whole different level. So it's no longer a tertiary institution problem. Now it's more about catch them young. So once you already belong in high school, it only makes sense that once you get to tertiary institution, you just raise the bar a little bit
yeah.
high.
You don't have
Because
to. Before,
now-
you don't have to join anything. You don't
Because
have
now
to-
you just already go
Yeah.
up the hierarchy. So when you see someone else who belongs, then if you're older than them within the fraternity, then you can just demand for respect because now you're big in the brotherhood than the person. You've been in brotherhood than the person, so they will actually just give you respect for that. So it also goes as to that. And when it comes to cultism, it's a really big. It's like it's really interwoven into a fabric that is really big because it starts
Yeah.
from high school, then it goes up the ladder, and even post tertiary institutions too. You have people who still fly colors even after getting out of the university.
They're still
because-
getting together.
Yeah. And you have people who are actually
man.
politicians who actually encourages this habit and this whole sense, this line of thinking. You have politicians who support these things.
Because they feel happy using
Yeah,
those
because
skills,
now
this
they have
innocent.
guys to use for
Yeah.
whatever election violence that they want to perpetrate. So either way, they kind of serve a purpose in the polity.
Yeah, I'm going to tell you these stories. I'm just gonna say rest in peace to my friend Nessie Popo Nelson. I don't know if I ever have told you a
Yeah,
story,
yeah, I
right?
know you did.
Yeah. So before he died, we were really close. So I used to go from my papa to Ebutimeta to meet with him. So there's some group of guys in Ebutimeta there in Orioke church around the Rocky church environment, right? Those guys, some of them go to school, some of them now, so they are actually in court. They're our friends, right? We cool, we're friends. So at the point they started approaching me and Popo.
Oh, okay.
They started approaching us like, yo, I want you guys to join. This group comes like, I want you and Popo. You guys are big boy. You guys are doing well. We want to protect you. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't need that. Then another group came. I was like, yo, you and Popo, like we all friends. But the point is, most of them they're friends, but they belong to different group.
Yeah.
So we got approached by three different group. I was like, yo, Popo, I think I will stop coming here. So maybe whenever you want to see me, you know where I am. Come to Papa. We just and the same thing at Papa too. But the guys in Papa they're cool with me. They're just
Yeah.
there for standby. Like
Yeah.
if you run into shade, I was like,
Yeah, just
just
hit me
call.
up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they never talk to me about coming, belonging. I was like, just like, yo, we know who you are. We respect you, right? Do your thing. But in case you want us, we'll go fuck anybody up. Just let us know.
Goons. And from the story you've depicted, right, there are two things I can pick up from that, which is one, they try to sell you this false hope that you need
Protection. I don't need protection from
that
anybody.
you're
Not even-
vulnerable,
You
you're
can't even protect
susceptible.
yourself because you're fighting against
Yeah.
people. You don't
They
even
sell you
know.
that hope of invisibility, that you're invisible to external attack. That's one. Two, the problem with that is that even though these guys belong to rival groups and they're friends, but when shit happens, they're gonna
Happens.
pull up on each other.
Yes, each other. Yeah,
Which
that's
is
great.
what
That's great. Yeah,
which is what
That's great.
Goldeneye depicted in Cry.
Yeah,
Like, okay,
that's
two
great.
friends, they belong to rival gangs, and they shot each other point blank, eye to eye. So that's the problem. So it just takes. It's probably not even going to be them.
But
It's just going to be outsiders who fuck shit up. Now you got to take
You
side
have
with
to-
your guys.
exactly, you have
It's
to-
not
yeah.
even going to be within the two guys or friends or the group of friends. It's just going to be some external group of other people who just run into issues. Now it's between the two confraternity. Now you have to choose sides.
But my point is, you know why I can never, like, and I will never join such? Because now you're telling me I need the protection, even when I'm not
Vulnerable.
vulnerable to anything.
Yeah.
Now, as soon as I join, I becomes vulnerable.
Vulnerable,
not
yeah.
even to different groups,
You're vulnerable to them yourself and also to the other
to
groups.
opposing groups.
Because
so
one, you got to be loyal to them.
yeah, I was
Even
like,
when you don't agree with what they're trying to
you
do.
have to respect it. They
Yeah.
go out cause problem. You have to go fight
yeah,
for them.
go for them. Yeah.
I was like, no, I want to remain who I am. Nobody's after my life, right?
Yeah.
And I don't want to put myself in a situation whereby I will be like, whenever I'm working, I start looking back.
Yeah, you got to watch your back.
I don't know who there's like, if my life is in danger, if I'm endangered, like, I don't know anywhere to run to, I might. Right?
Yeah.
But now I'm living a very simple life. Nobody's after my life. I'm doing everything I want. I don't have to go fight for nobody if you're causing problem. I just have to tell you the truth. Yo, it's your fault. Go do with it. Right? So now I want to put myself in a situation whereby I have to be like scared of my life, my family, you know, like if you kill someone, they know your family, they're going for someone closer to you, right?
Yeah.
I was like, yo, no, never, man, never. And I see people who like at this point in my life, right?
Yeah.
If you started like fronting that you belong to this, you belong to this, like no matter how close I am with you, right?
Yeah.
I'm distancing myself.
Yeah, you
I'm
gotta
telling you like,
disavow
yo,
someone
man,
like that.
boom, yo,
It's
we
true.
can't be cool anymore, man.
You
We
know,
just have
for
to,
me, I
can
understood
never be cool.
the whole concept of confraternity and this thug greeting to be maybe a little bit of I'll say youthful exuberance, right? That you don't really see the bigger picture of life, or you don't have a purpose yet. And that gives you a purpose somehow, that you belong to this companionship or bond or brotherhood where you got each other's back.
Yeah.
But now when you get to that stage where you have a broader picture of yourself and what you stand for in the world and where you want to be, then what's the point of being there in the confraternity? Because now it becomes problematic for you to get out.
Yeah.
You can't get out.
Yeah.
Now you still continue to flaunt that in your 30s. That's where I started to have problems. I'll be like, you already see the bigger picture. You know you shouldn't be associating yourself with these kind of things. So now that's where I disavow a person. But if I still see a teenager who's doing it, I'll just be like, yeah, I kind of get it. You're vulnerable. Yeah. You can't really differentiate what you want and what you don't want. Then you're still youthful, so you might be a little bit violent and whatnot. But when you get to that stage where I feel like you should be able to make better choice, and you still flaunt being a cultist all around town, I'm like, nah, sorry, man.
I don't know the joy. I really don't
exactly.
know the joy.
I don't know the joy that is derived from doing something that is illegal and it's immoral. It's not something that you can proudly tell your kids.
It's not something you can just go out and like, I belong to this.
Like, I belong to this. Because, okay, now let's just take an example that, you got employed by a company or by a government parastatal. Can you admit during an interview that you belong to a confraternity? There is no job you can actually want to do.
No,
and
nobody's going to employ you.
Even if you, let's say, it's a security parastatal. You cannot even agree to them like, I belong to this call group and they protect me from danger or whatnot. So if this is something you can never be proud of, then there's no point associating with it. It's just like how we disavow the KKK and how we criticize them. So the KKK is a black supremacist group, right?
White supremacist.
White supremacist group. I'm sorry for that. So now people don't want to associate public with them. Even people who are KKK members, they'll tell you, no, I'm not.
I'm not.
Codedly they are. So it's the same thing with cultism too. Like, it's something you can never be proud of. So why spend your time associating with all of this? Because I don't get it.
Me too. I really don't know the joy people are deriving from it. And I don't want to associate myself with anybody who belongs to. Like, maybe I know you, just high friendship. Aside from that, nothing more, man. Nothing more. So he was talking about the new role play shit that has been going on for a long time.
Fuck now. Yeah. Yeah, there's been like a couple of discussions, like not really over the weekend, like during the week, like since Monday. I don't even know what prompted that, but I've just been seeing a lot about BDSM shit on Twitter Nigeria, like role playing, bondage, discipline, dominion, sadism, sadomasochism, and whatnot. So there's like been diverse opinions. Like, you have people who bring in the religious argument that, sex is for marriage and whatnot, and it's immoral to do the devil's whatever act in sexual acts and whatnot. So there's been that religious argument that have been prompted by certain people on
what happens to missionary style? What happens to doggies?
Yeah, I don't know, because there have been people who also complain about that as being immoral. I don't know. So I don't care what people do with doggies. Yeah, there have been Christians who actually say, that's immoral. Are you really hearing that for the first time?
Really?
Yeah, there have been Christians who say, there's also been Islamic clerics who also said that too, that it's immoral, it's unreligious or whatnot. And then with BDSM, right?
Now I get it, why they call the Papa style missionary style. Oh, okay.
So yeah, so it just happens, and then there are people who just talk that, say that this won't really work in Nigeria, right? Because we already have a level of distrust for each other, right? So that it's going to be hard for someone to want to be submissive and just give that consent for themselves to be chained and to be bounded to a bed and whatnot. And also, there's also an argument that a lot of people actually cheat in their relationship. So they might actually see that moment as a moment of payback. That their spouse is trying to pay back them. Yeah, because it's legit, right? Because you already have your conscience telling me that, oh shit.
I don't cheat on me. See,
Like-
today, every the days I don't catch it, they go flog you with belt.
So it might just feel like, oh, finally my spouse already caught me. Is
shit.
that what he or she is trying to do by trying to like bond me or whatnot? And when that happens, right? So there's that distrust that people might not want to consent to doing that because they'll feel like, oh, they're trying to just tie me to this bed and just leave me to die here or whatnot.
handcuff and shit like that.
Yeah, or
Yo,
just flog the shit out of me.
I can never trust anybody with that. We can perform every sexual act we want without tying ourselves. Just
Exactly,
go. We
right?
can fuck on the ceiling
We
anywhere.
could have fun, fuck on the beach, in the balcony
Anywhere.
and whatnot.
But as soon as it involved like we have to do, no, if not that time now you're to do one sweet, you go keep them.
So there's that, and also I think the one that's actually funnier is I can't actually remember who tweeted that this whole BDSM shit is gonna remind people, like it's gonna be a PTSD reminder of people of when they got arrested by SARS, right? Because when you start to chain them to bed, then they might just catch that post-traumatic stress disorder of being arrested by SARS. Because then it just goes back to what we've been talking on this show about how SARS has been traumatizing a lot of the youth. And it's actually traumatic because they make you pass through a lot of stress. So it becomes a trauma for the youth. So the moment you're starting to actually, these things are starting to happen where someone is starting to bring out their handcuffs and whatnot and chains, then you start to remember that SARS episode.
Shit,
and it might just trigger that you might just immediately lose the feeling, that emotions that be like, oh no, I don't want this shit anymore. So I felt like that was really funny, but it's also true.
That is true. That is fact.
That's really true, because
and that will trigger a lot of things in people too. Like people who have some disorder, some sickness in there that they have been controlling for a long time.
Yeah,
and that thing, like I don't know, like this some hormones may just like trigger your system and making you acting.
I just feel like the case
you know?
against BDSM is more about the social and cultural issues that's embedded in our society, which is distrust, then maybe triggering PTSD and whatnot. So it's not even more of the morality.
If this shit is really happening, right? I think we might just
it doesn't happen.
I think we might just create. This is a Western influence. I know a lot of people here, and like we know a lot of like escort and people who does that a lot. Because some people have this or like this sexual or they want to experience new things, they want to like do some crazy thing. And that is a Western thing.
And the thing is
African
also that
thing,
I don't even say like feminists are actually you're gonna have. I haven't really read a feminist tweet about this, but I think a feminist is actually going to oppose this because
you sure
they might just feel like, oh, this is one avenue for men to actually display their patriarchal tendencies, where they'll chain you the girl, they'll chain you, you become submissive.
I think feminists will be in support of the whole thing.
Yeah, they'll probably be against it. Depends on the role playing, right? If it's the guy,
if the girl have to tie the guy, I have to flog them.
It depends on who's going to be submissive and who's going to be dominant. Right? So
I think it's a role play. They might just switch up. Like if you do today, maybe it's my turn tomorrow.
Yeah,
be
but
the master today, then you'll be the slave tomorrow.
Yeah, so I don't know, but it's really a crazy concept. I feel like the popular opinion is that people don't really subscribe to it, not because they feel it's immoral or whatnot, just because it's more nuanced and it puts people in different situations, right? There are people who might not want to be chained because
I don't know.
What if your partner just chains you and just walk out on you? So what you gonna do? Like, just chain you and just throw the key and just walk away.
Your phone is far away from you.
Okay, that girl you've been texting on your phone since, go and text her to come and
save you.
Yeah, that could be a reason. Or be like, oh, I've been asking you to take me out on a date or buy me an iPhone and whatnot. Or they might just tie you to the bed and just be like, you know what, I'm done with this
Prevention
relationship.
is better than cure.
So there's
You
so many
you
arguments.
better embrace the papa, the missionary style, and the doggy
Yeah,
style, man. Just don't go extreme. Don't go extreme, man.
yeah, it's
Just
risky because like
don't go extreme.
just have fun at least. The same time, use your brain. Like
I
don't
don't
let
know.
your
I don't know what
emotions
they're going to
cloud your
derive from
judgment.
that. I don't know what type of fun they're going to derive from that shit, but it's not fun to me. It's like
Now, people actually want to like try
no
new
matter
things,
how
right?
erected I am, and you time against the fucking bed, I'm losing the entire the whole thing is dude.
So yeah, with that being said, to just end it, let's talk about SARS a little bit. Like there's still be reports coming in like
And SARS is
of
still doing
SARS
the SARS
actually
bullshit.
doing their bullshit, like traumatizing people, harassing people, violating basic human
Human
rights of
right.
citizens. So we'll keep
You
talking
just
about
gotta
that.
stop this shit. And I don't know the government, the police, or wherever, they're not doing anything about this. People has been complaining, and this is
Nigerian police, I don't know.
fuck.
It's just a reflection of the country itself. Okay, recently the president directed the Inspector General of Police to go to Benue State because of
Ah,
the whole
he
Fulani
went to
herdsmen
Maduguri, right?
killings. And he went to is it Nasarawa
Nasarawa or Maduguri or
or
somewhere.
Niger State. He didn't actually take he didn't
The
take
order.
command directives from the president. So it's just the same thing that's happening with SARS, right? The Inspector General have spoken. He said like, okay, all this harassment should stop, and SARS officials should actually wear proper identification, that people should be able to identify their names and which department of the police they belong to. But they've not been able to heed to this directive by the Inspector General of Police. So if the Inspector General is not actually taking directives from the president, how do you expect these officers to take directives from the Inspector General himself? So that's a problem. It's just a breakdown of
I just think the police and the military people, they just believe they are above the law. They can just do whatever they want and
exactly.
just go away with it. Like,
It's more about cronyism. Like they're friends with the president or whoever it is, so they know nothing is going to happen. Somebody made a case that Buhari is not going to sack the president, Inspector General of Police. Do you know
nah,
why? Because he supported the emergence of Buhari.
yeah.
He oversaw people, young voters, aliens voting in the north. So he knew Buhari was going to become the president. He supported with his actions by allowing
Yeah, that
underage
age to
voters
vote.
to vote
Yeah.
and also aliens to vote. So it's just a way of being compensated. That's how he got the IGP. So he knows like it's you paying me back for the services I've rendered. So what power do you actually have over me? So that's something that actually runs through the whole system of the Nigerian police. Even let's even take that away. Like there should be some form of empathy towards the citizens. Like you just go on harassing people who have not committed any offense. And also now that's why people are starting to use the whole SARS ordeal and trauma as a case for PTSD
Yeah.
against BDSM. So I don't know because the Amnesty International in Nigeria have also issued a report like the past few months about the excesses of SARS campaign in Nigeria, and other people have also talked about it too. But the campaign died down. Well, we're not going to stop because we feel like we're the voice of the youth.
Yeah, we are. We
Yeah,
really have
so
to like.
we
If
whoever is
this will
hearing
take
it, we're
us
just talking
every
about it.
episode, we have to
We're going
learn.
to keep talking about it
And
because we
if
care about
SARS,
it.
if SARS official is hearing this, you guys have to stop that bullshit.
Because at the end of the day, like I have a family member who's a SARS official, and I've talked to him. Like people are talking about this, that you guys are doing this. Like I know you're part of the problem. I'm not going to say because he's
Yeah,
my
because
cousin.
my
Like
cousin
I
or
know
my
you're part
family.
of the
Yeah.
problem, but you guys, I know you have to do your job, but at least do your job within the ambit of the law. Like there's no need extorting people. There's no need beating up people,
Come on,
young
man.
children.
Why
So
would he do that?
and when you
Like
start to do these things, people start to actually lose
respect.
respect for constituted authorities, and they also start to lose their confidence in the
You're supposed to
country.
be like people supposed to be. It's like I mean, like the citizens supposed to have some a level of trust and confidence in
Yeah,
like
they say for police
in the
is your
force.
friend. There's never been a statement that is as false as the police is your friend in Nigeria or bail
bail
is
is
free.
free.
Those two statements are the most false story statements in the history of Nigeria. The people don't trust the police. The people don't even want to have interaction with the police. Even when people witness a crime, they don't want to go forth to the police and offer.
Because you will be arrested.
Because
you'll
then
be jailed.
you become like how did he even say it? You become the number one suspect.
Yeah,
I've
even as
always
a
heard
witness.
that.
As a witness.
Witness. I've always heard that as when I was still a teenager, that once you go talk to the Nigerian police that I saw this when it happened, this was what happened, you become the number one suspect. So the table turns. So nobody really wants to offer information to the police. The police are seen as enemy. So it's more about enemy combatants in the field. That's the relationship that Nigerians have. So we just keep hoping that one day that youths are going to be free from this oppression.
We just hope the government will do something. Pay the police what they deserve.
Yep.
And police, please treat the people
with respect.
With respect, and treat them like a human being, not a fucking animal that you can just jump on, beat them, and demand whatever you want from them.
Yep.
Treat people with dignity.
That's what's up.
So we'll be signing out for today's episode number 13. So please follow us on IG, on Twitter, like my Twitter, authority_Joel, same thing as Instagram.
Yeah, mine is at Groving Tony on Instagram and
follow
Twitter.
the Other Room Podcast. Go to YouTube, search the Other Room Podcast, watch our videos.
Click
subscribe, comment. If you want us to improve anything, please kindly do.
We've been receiving comments on
and shout out to the guy
who
just hit us up today.
Yep.
For big up. Shout out to you, guy. I'm not going to say your name now because we still have a lot of days to strike.
Yeah.
So maybe when we started connecting the dots, maybe there will be announcing your name. So please follow us, support us. Thank you guys so much. Thank you.